the story opens with Officer K, whose duty was to retire replicants, meaning to eliminate them. On this particular day, his mission was to locate and kill a replicant named Scrapper. K reached Scrapper's hideout and waited inside until he returned. As soon as Scrapper entered, K ambushed him, leading to a fierce and brutal fight. In the end, K managed to overpower and kill him. But just before dying, Scrapper said something strange. "You hunt replicants because you've never witnessed a miracle in your life." With those final words, Scrapper died. K calmly washed his hands, left the house, and got into his futuristic vehicle. As he was about to drive away, his lieutenant called, asking about the mission. K told her it was successful and that he was heading back. But then something unusual caught his attention, a strange-looking tree nearby. Curious, he stopped, scanned it with his tech, and discovered a hidden box buried 5 feet underground. K dug it out and brought it back to the high-tech base. There, he handed the box over for analysis and went to undergo his regular mental stability test. This test ensured his mind was balanced and that he was still capable of carrying out missions. The questions were tough, but K answered calmly and passed without difficulty. Afterward, he went home. On the way, he passed groups of unemployed people protesting against the government. Ignoring them, K continued straight home. At home, he was greeted by his girlfriend, Joey, a holographic AI. That day marked their 1-year anniversary. To celebrate, K gifted her a device that would allow her to walk with him anywhere, no longer confined to his apartment. Overjoyed, Joey asked to go outside. Together, they experienced the rain for the very first time. Soaking in the drops, Joey felt almost human as she grew closer to K. The two shared an intimate moment, but it was interrupted when K received a message from his lieutenant. The lab had found something significant inside the box, and he was ordered to report immediately. When K arrived, the scientist explained, "This isn't just a box, it's a military container. And inside, we found the skeleton of a woman." Upon further examination under the microscope, they uncovered something shocking. The woman had died during childbirth. What K then noticed on the bones left everyone stunned. Engraved on them was a serial number. Every replicant carried one on their bones to identify their model. This meant the skeleton belonged to a replicant. K's lieutenant was shaken. She told him, "How is this possible? Replicants were never supposed to reproduce. That was the only distinction between them and humans. If this truth comes out, the world will never be the same. Chaos will follow." She ordered K to erase every piece of evidence linked to the case and to find and eliminate the child before anyone else discovered the truth. K left the lab deeply disturbed, haunted by the idea that replicants could actually reproduce. His mind returned to Scrapper's final words, "You've never seen a miracle." Now, K felt Scrapper must have been referring to this miracle. Determined to uncover the truth, K threw himself into the mission. His search led him to Earth headquarters, where massive replicant archives were stored. He hoped to trace the serial number there. But when he asked, the clerk gave him shocking news. 30 years ago, Los Angeles had suffered a massive blackout. For 10 days, the entire city had no power. Frustrated, K felt his lead vanish. Just then, a woman approached him. Her name was Love, and she claimed to have been sent by Neander Wallace, head of the Wallace Corporation, the company that now built replicants. Love escorted K to a secret room where rare data had survived the blackout. She even gave him an old audio file connected to the serial number. When K played it, the distorted recording revealed the name of a man, Deckard, who was once interrogating a replicant. But the audio was too corrupted to recover more. K's next move was to track down someone who had worked with Deckard in the past. He found an old replicant who admitted Deckard had retired decades ago, and since then, no one had heard from him. Once again, K hit a dead end. Meanwhile, Louvre returned to Wallace. Inside his advanced lab, Wallace was conducting experiments on a female replicant. His ultimate goal was to create replicants capable of reproduction, because if achieved, he could manufacture them in the millions and dominate the future. But the experiment failed. The woman died on the table. Back on his mission, K stopped at a restaurant. Some people there were watching him closely, and soon a group of women approached, trying to distract him. Among them was a girl named Mariette, who pressed herself against K, and even hinted about her home nearby in case he ever needed her. But Kay ignored her and left. Instead, he returned to Scrapper's house for a more thorough investigation. While searching, he noticed an old piano. As he touched and played a few notes, he sensed something unusual. Opening it, he discovered a small, hidden box. Inside was a photograph of a young girl standing near the same tree where Kay had earlier dug up the skeleton box. This discovery brought Kay back to the tree. Examining it more carefully, he found something carved near the roots, a date. The moment Kay saw it, his mind froze. The date held a shocking personal significance for him. Meanwhile, Love infiltrated Kay's lab. Following Wallace's orders, she began stealing samples of the skeleton. When a guard tried to stop her, Love cleverly killed him and stole the samples before leaving. Later, Kay met with his lieutenant, who asked about the progress of the case. Kay admitted that he hadn't yet found any solid leads. She then asked him about his childhood. Since replicants never had real memories, they were always implanted from someone else's experiences. Kay explained that in his childhood, he remembered growing up in an orphanage. He recalled having a toy horse, which other kids tried to steal. To protect it, he hid the toy, and when they couldn't find it, they beat him badly. That was all he remembered. Afterward, Kay went to the records room at headquarters and began checking files of all children born on the date carved on the tree. Meanwhile, Joey appeared and told Kay that maybe he himself was that child, suggesting that he wasn't just any replicant, but someone special. Kay, however, denied it. Soon, he discovered that on that date, 2 children were born, 1 boy and 1 girl. The girl had died from an illness, and the boy grew up in an orphanage. Kay immediately headed to that orphanage, but upon arrival, he was attacked by several men. Just then, Love appeared and saved him. The truth was that Kay's ship had been manufactured by Wallace Corporation, making it easy for her to track his location. Kay finally reached the orphanage and saw many children working there. He questioned the owner about the boy, but the man avoided answering. Kay beat him until he confessed, then led Kay to a room where the children's records were kept in notebooks. But when Kay opened the book, he found that several pages had been torn out, specifically the ones that would have contained information about the boy. The identity of who removed them would only be revealed later. As Kay wandered through the orphanage, everything seemed strangely familiar, just like his childhood memories. He eventually reached the same spot he remembered and found the toy horse hidden there. Inspecting it closely, he saw the exact same date carved on it as the one under the tree. Completely shocked, Kay began to believe that the child he had been searching for was none other than himself. Later, Kay returned home and discussed this with Joey. She told him that if it could be proven whether his childhood memories were real or implanted, then he would know for certain if he was truly that child. Kay agreed. To find out, he visited Wallace's secret lab, where he met a scientist named Stelline. She had once worked with Wallace, designing artificial memories for replicants. Kay asked for her help, explaining that he needed to know if his memory was real or fake. Stelline examined his memories carefully, and while doing so, became very emotional. Finally, she told Kay that yes, the memory was real. Hearing this, Kay was shaken but convinced that he was indeed the child he had been searching for. But after leaving Stelline's lab, he was suddenly arrested by the police for entering the lab without permission. He was taken back to headquarters and forced to undergo the baseline test required of all Blade Runners after missions. This time, however, Kay failed the test. Later, the lieutenant came to him and said, "What's wrong with you? You're my best hunter, but you're drifting away from your purpose." Because of his failed test, she suspended him. After that, Kay returned home, where he was visited by Mariette, the woman he had met earlier at the restaurant. The two made out, and the next morning, Mariette slyly planted a GPS tracker on his clothes. Later, Kay took the wooden horse to an expert, who scanned it and found traces of a special type of radiation, the same kind found in a city near Los Angeles. Hearing this, Kay decided to travel there. Meanwhile, Love confronted the lieutenant and demanded Kay's location. When the lieutenant refused, Love stabbed her to death and extracted the information from her computer. On the other side, Kay reached the city. Everywhere he looked, there was nothing but radiation, dust storms, and pitch darkness. The whole atmosphere was eerie and unsettling. As he wandered, he entered a house and encountered Deckard. Kay tried to talk to him, but Deckard refused and shot him, knocking him down. When Deckard went downstairs to check, Kay had disappeared. Deckard began searching for him. Kay hid in a room equipped with a hologram projector that played an old video. Suddenly, Deckard entered. Kay tried to explain the truth, but Deckard didn't listen and attacked him. Somehow, Kay managed to calm him down. Later, the two sat in another room, where Deckard poured them drinks. Kay asks him about his wife and child. Deckard explains that his wife's name was Rachael and admits that he never even saw his son's face. He says that there had been an order to kill the child, and if the baby had stayed with him, they would have been killed as well. To save the child's life, Deckard sent him to an orphanage. Kay asks why he never tried to find his child. Deckard replies that because of the blackout, all records of the child were erased and staying away was the safest option for the child. Just then, Love arrives with her army and launches an attack. The explosions leave both Kay and Deckard badly injured. Kay fights back against Love's forces, but they are too many. He is eventually captured. Love approaches Kay and brutally beats him until he loses consciousness. During this, a device falls from Kay's pocket, the one that stored Joy's entire memory. Love crushes it, permanently erasing Joy. The loss breaks Kay's heart, leaving him on the ground. Love takes Deckard aboard her spaceship and flies him to Wallace. Sometime later, Marriott finds Kay thanks to the GPS she had planted on his clothes. She rescues him and takes him to an underground hideout where she treats his wounds. There, a woman named Freysa arrives and introduces herself as the leader of a group called the Revolutionaries. She reveals that it was their group who orchestrated the blackout and erased all data to protect Rachel's daughter. Shocked, Kay tells her that he thought the child was a boy. Freya explains that to protect the girl's life, they had spread false information so no one would pursue her. Kay is stunned. Until now, he had believed he was Rachel's son. Realizing the truth shatters him, Freysa then tells Kay that if he joins their cause, they could change the entire world and punish those who oppress replicants. But before Wallace learns the truth from Deckard, she says Kay must kill him. Kay agrees to help their group. Meanwhile, Wallace meets Deckard and asks about the child, but Deckard refuses to say anything. Wallace tries to emotionally manipulate him by showing him a prototype of Rachael, but Deckard doesn't fall for his trick. He firmly says that he hasn't seen his child since the moment of birth. Wallace doesn't believe him and orders Love to take Deckard to prison. Love boards a spaceship with Deckard, heading toward jail. But suddenly, Kay attacks. He shoots down two of the escort ships, then crashes the one carrying Deckard and Love into the ocean. And just as Love tries to escape from the sinking ship, Kay first shoots and kills the pilot of Love's vessel so that there's no chance of anyone getting away. But during this, Kay himself is shot and badly wounded. Soon, a brutal fight breaks out between Love and Kay. Meanwhile, water begins to flood the spaceship, and Deckard starts drowning because Love had handcuffed him. In the middle of their fight, Love knocks Kay unconscious and goes to finish saving Deckard for herself. But suddenly, Kay regains strength and attacks her again. He overpowers Love, forcing her underwater and eventually drowns her to death. Moments later, Kay frees Deckard, and the two escape just before the ship completely sinks. Afterward, they head to Stellan's laboratory. Here, the truth is finally revealed. Deckard and Rachel's daughter is none other than Dr. Anna Stellan herself. Kay had already begun to understand this when Freysa told him that Rachel's child was actually a girl. He realized it must be Stellan, because when she had shown him his memories earlier, he had become deeply emotional. Kay, however, stays behind, lying on the steps of the lab, bleeding heavily from the bullet wounds inflicted by Love. Inside, Deckard finally comes face to face with his daughter. Overwhelmed with emotion, he realizes the truth at last. And with a few unanswered questions still lingering, the story comes to an end here. So friends, what do you think? Did Kay really die? Or is there more to his story? Since the villain is still alive, we might only find the answers in the next part. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like it and share it with your friends. And if this video gets 300 likes, we'll definitely bring you the next part of the story. Also, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss it. See you in the next video. Until then, goodbye.